Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Daughter Dearest Podcast. I'm Simone Canego.
I'm Olivia Canego.
She's my daughter, my
Yeah.
daughter dearest. Well, this is our second episode, so we're still doing stuff to kind of introduce you to us. And today we're really going to be talking about embarrassing moments that maybe shouldn't be considered embarrassing. I think everything we do in life, we're always worried that we're embarrassing ourselves, but hey, we got to live life. So we're going to tell you some of our best embarrassing moments. And some of them might be gross, but they're still embarrassing moments and they're still really funny. You want to start or you want me to start? Actually, I'll start because I actually have one. I don't even think you know about this one.
Okay. I'll listen up.
It's a pretty basic one. So when I think we talked about my beautiful car on the first episode, my Malibu Barbie Chevrolet. And when I first got that car, I was driving one day in the evening, and there was a car in front of me that was full of high school boys. And they decided it would be funny to moon me as they cut me off. And
Did
of
you
course,
know these high school boys? Like,
no,
did
I
they
didn't.
go to your high
No,
school?
no, I didn't know them, but they just thought it would be funny. I had a friend of mine in the car, and of course, we're laughing hysterically. So the guy in the back, has his butt up against the window, mooning me, and well, I got a little distracted and ended up rear-ending them.
Yeah, that just makes me think in like business law, because I just finished up law notes yesterday about like negligence and stuff. Like, whose fault do you think that would be? Probably be
Well,
split.
Well, it'd probably be split, but the good news is that they were so embarrassed that they
But
just took off.
that's fair.
And I had, Malibu Barbie, and you couldn't really destroy her, so I was fine. And I don't think I even
Mm.
told my parents about that story. So the mooning accident, yeah,
Oh my gosh, that's actually ridiculous. What?
yeah, I know, happens though. But you have a great car story too.
Yes, I am well known in my family for not being the best driver. Um, Enough said there. There's
Yeah,
literally nothing more. So it was my junior year of high school, and I took AP Euro, and AP Euro was one of my harder history AP classes, and it was one that I really needed to study for. And I was on my way to a practice session before the AP exam. Mind you, the AP exam was probably the day after. So it was like an early morning practice session, and I wasn't looking, and I usually parked in the garage, and Jacob parked at the end of the driveway. But that day he happened to park right behind my car, and I was trying to order Starbucks while plugging music, and so I ended up backing into him.
and Jacob's her older
And
brother, just so you
yeah,
know, if you
and
didn't.
Jacob's
Yeah.
car was fine. His car ended up being fine, and my car was fine in that moment. Okay, there's more to this. So I panic in the Olivia state that I am. I panic over everything. So of course I'm going to panic over hitting my brother's car. And in that moment, I don't put my car in park. So it rolls forward and hits the like front of the garage stairs. Luckily there's no damage there. I mean, probably to my car, but not to the house. So no house-sized hole. So I get my stuff together. I get organized, or car-sized hole in the house, whatever. I get my being organized. At this point, I was supposed to leave early with the kids to get to school early, or without the kids because they didn't want to go early, and Jacob was going to take them. And at this point, Jacob and the kids had already left. Like, I was that late at this point. So it was like, I just have to get in the car and go. And of course, right as I'm backing out, I swerved a little too hard because I was already, in my freaky state of mind, and I tore my side mirror off on the garage. And I actually ended up not going to school that day. I sat with my dad was like, just, you know what? We're having a mental health day today. I sat with him while he was operating. I sat outside the operating room trying to do a AP Euro review.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It
Yeah,
was probably one of
so
the funniest stories, but it was all about the panicking. And was it embarrassing? No, it's
I
just
didn't
kind
tell anybody at school about it.
of
People were
well,
like, "Oh, I heard you got in a car accident." I was like, "No, I was sick."
well, they all know about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a great story, and that stupid mirror was like
I
$600.
know, if I had just like gotten my stuff together and been like, okay, on the road, there would have been nothing to replace.
Yeah,
Me hitting Jacob's car did no damage.
yeah, it was just
Like
taking a
he had
breath.
a dent in his, and on the way driving like back to the house that night, the dent popped out itself because it was such a like a rinky dink car. And I mean, my car was also rinky dink, so
Yeah. Um. Okay. Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories about you. Um. I think I don't know if you know this one as well. That when I was when I was in college. I went to the University of Florida, and I was at a football game, and I was probably, I want to say I was 18. Yeah. And I was not looking where I was going. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't looking where I was going. And I managed to fall down probably 20 steps in the stadium, like boom, 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 until finally I got caught on like the guardrail.
Hmm.
And people were like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine," because I was mortified. I was like so embarrassed that like all these people just saw me fall down steps and for no good reason. Like I just missed the step. I didn't even
Yeah,
see it, you know? I was just like trying to focus on where my seat was, and bam, that one killed me. It
that
was
happened in
pretty.
high school. So in high school we did the school-wide assemblies, right, in the gym, and my high school was small, so I don't know, probably 300, 400 kids total. So everyone knew everyone. And I'm like walking down, I'm like one of the last person, so like everyone can see you when you're like the last person walking down because everyone's already off. And of course, I'm at the top, and I fall all the way down the bleachers onto the floor.
Well, they definitely heard you as well because
Oh,
those
100%.
those bleachers make some noise.
Yeah.
Actually, it reminds me of another story of you falling down. That was like
Happens
a
quite
common,
frequently. I
yeah, it
was
was
a really clumsy kid, and then I kind of grew out of it, but like not really.
yeah. I mean, well, I don't think you're clumsy anymore. Like I
I
feel like
just
you,
don't think I have any spatial awareness. So
yeah.
I try to avoid putting myself in situations where I could be perceived as clumsy.
Do you remember that time you were when you used to take the bus to school
Oh my God.
and you
We
were
were
running?
late for the bus
We were
stop,
late. Yes, we were late for
and
that. Was my
I
fault.
ran and tripped and I scraped up my knees and I still got on the bus, I think.
I felt so bad. I felt so guilty. You were like trying not to cry, and you were like all bloody. And the bus
Yeah,
driver
and
was
it
like,
wasn't like I was like in fifth grade. Like I was in middle school, and you can't cry in the bus in middle school. That makes you a
"No."
loser. Social standards. You just gotta
Okay.
hold it together. Oh, I hated riding the bus.
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that, but it made my life a little bit easier. So,
Yeah, you're
and
not the bus before.
sorry about you falling down too.
It's okay.
Um, okay, I also want to, we're going to get to some other really great stories, but I want to tell this funny story about you in Italy. I mean, you experienced it, but you were little. But it's more embarrassing, I think, for your dad than it is for you. I
Yeah.
think it was like traumatizing for you. So, we went to Italy for a friend's wedding, and when we got there, Olivia had been in the hospital right before we left. She was sick. She had rotavirus. And so we were like, just let's see if we can make it there. That was like the goal. And so there was one day where we went. I was invited. Well, we were both invited, but Rob stayed behind. My husband stayed behind with the kids. I went to a vineyard with my friends. So I was like, this is a good deal. Rob takes the kids and I get to go taste wine. And so Rob decided to take the kids into the closest village, which was San Gimignano. And San Gimignano is a walled village, first of all. So you park outside of the village. You cannot drive inside the village. So he went with my best friend's father. And so it was the two of them and then the three children. At the time, we just had three. So first of all, Rob didn't realize that it was a walled city. So he tried to drive into the city, first of all, and he ended up getting the car smushed. Like he went and went and went until the car couldn't fit anymore. And that's when he realized, oh, you can't drive here. So he had to back out. The car was all scraped up. Luckily, we had insurance. And by that time, Olivia has to go to the bathroom really bad. So they park the car. And the way the bathrooms work there is that they operate with a coin. So you put a coin in, the door opens, the door closes, you go to the bathroom, you push the button, you get out again, and then there's this wash cycle that happens from the door. And well, what happened was they didn't realize how that worked. So Olivia was waiting to go to the bathroom. A woman came out. Olivia runs into the bathroom. The door closes, and you hear the wash cycle go on. And there was nothing they could do to get her out. She's screaming. You can hear the thing spraying, and she waited Rob said it was a good couple of minutes before they could get the door open. And of course, by then you probably peed your pants. I mean,
Yeah.
but you got washed down too. And so yeah, she doesn't like those kind of bathrooms anymore.
No,
But
I mean, I don't really run into them ever. New York's bathrooms are pretty disgusting. So
yeah, yeah. But That was one of my favorite stories. And then they get home, and the whole day she's complaining that her feet hurt. And they get home, and my best friend's father looked down at Olivia and said to my husband, Rob, you know why her feet hurt? You put her shoes on the wrong feet. So the entire day she's been walking around with her shoes on the wrong feet. How old were you? 3? Yeah, you were little. Young. Yeah. So, I mean, but you survived, and it's a great story to tell. And it's, a good story about being traumatized by a bathroom.
No, for sure. A good one.
Yeah. That was one of my favorites. Okay. I want to tell a story about the minivan story. So we had this minivan, and this is something
Honda Odyssey white minivan. It was the mom car of mom cars.
It was the mom car. And you know what? I loved it because you pushed a button, the kids could walk out. You push the button, the door closes. You're carrying groceries. You push the button, the back hatch opens. It was like, I never thought I would drive one of those, but then when you have 6 kids, you don't have like that many options. No. And I was like, I want something that they don't have to touch the doors. I can push the button.
And then the most important thing in that car was that there's a TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother story about, the TVs to drown out Noah's crying all the time. But I had been out of town, and that's a story for another day about Noah and the snake bite. But I was taking Noah to go get physical therapy. He had been bitten by a poisonous snake, and so his arm was kind of locked in place, and so we had to get physical therapy. Well, I had been out of town for the 10 days before that, in a different country, and so we got into the minivan, and obviously Noah was fine after the snake bite. He was in the ICU for a few days. Lots of stories behind that. But I go to back out of the driveway, and I look back at him to make sure that he's buckled. Noah, are you buckled? I'm trying. He can only use the one arm. And I look back at him, and I'm like, why is there popcorn all over the seat? Like, I mean, I know it was the moving trash can, but I was sure that it was cleaned before I left. I mean, as clean as you can get it, because with 6 kids in a minivan, and there's that third row where, it's kind of like the black hole, things go in, they never come out. I mean, the amount of crackers I found back there over the lifetime of that car.
As long as it smelled okay, like it was probably clean enough.
I don't disagree. I mean, when I was younger, I would have been mortified by that statement, but no, it was fine. So I look back at him again, and I'm like, that is not popcorn. I was like, I put the car into park. I was like, get out of the car. And he's like, why? I'm like, get out of the car. And so he gets out, and I'm looking in there, and it's not popcorn. It is the foam from the inside of the seats. And mixed in with that foam was all kinds of rat poop. It was like the grossest thing I had ever seen. And I guess while I was gone, a rat got in through the engine block and had a feast. 1, 2, 6 rats, a whole family. I don't know what it was. And it literally chewed on every seat in the car. It was so disgusting. And I called the insurance company. First, I thought like I was being very optimistic, and I called the pest control guy, and he's like, I'll come set some traps, thinking like it was salvageable. And nothing, we didn't catch anything in the traps. And so he's like, you should call your insurance company. I'm like, I don't know why I just didn't do that from the beginning. So I call the insurance company, and they're like, well, there's nothing wrong with the engine, right? You can drive it in. I was like, I am not driving it in. Like, what if a rat jumps on my head while I'm driving and I like get it into an accident? That's going to be your fault. And so they ended up towing it, and the representative at the adjuster looked it over and said, never would I have ever thought that I would say this in my life, but I have to total your car because a rat ate your seats. Okay. Now I know like they chew on wires and stuff, but chewing on your seats, like feasting, like unbelievable.
I was kind of a good thing though. The minivan, it was time for us. It was more of a like, I'm a senior in high school, a junior in high school. Why is my mom still driving a minivan? Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. See, that was embarrassing to you. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But I like
I stand by that one.
Yeah. But then after that, I was like, no, I'm out, and I'm getting a smaller car. So that's what I did. Oof. That was one of the grossest things.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to like our like really important stories, which has to do with poop, because you know what, like it just happens sometimes, right? Like
we're also 2 Jewish women. Like, come on.
Yeah, well, and you also have Crohn's, and I have some unknown something. I don't really know what it is, but it depending on what I eat, it could be a problem.
Yeah.
And
And you know what? I used to be really embarrassed when I was a kid about it, and then I think my friends still are about any kind of poop situations, but I've just gotten like shit literally happens. Like it
yeah,
literally happens.
yeah. What are you going to do? I mean,
And
that's
all of the situations have ever happened to me. So like at some point you kind of just have to sit there and laugh a little bit.
yeah. Well, after you clean yourself up, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't know that when I was really little, I had stomach issues. My parents took me in. I had when I was 5, I had like a colonoscopy done, and they couldn't. At first, they thought I had Crohn's, but it never amounted to anything. They put me on like a soy diet. Like, can
Ugh.
you imagine soy 45 years
Oh,
ago?
only soy?
Yeah, like I know, well, I mean, I couldn't have any kind of milk products, so no regular butter, no milk, no, and I loved milk, so I mean, it kind of made sense that maybe that was the issue, but no, it was so disgusting, I can't even tell you. But so as I got older, I was just kind of used to being sick, like it just kind of was part of it. But
Same.
um, there so many times would I be like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it to the bathroom. I'm not going to make it to the bathroom. My close friends kind of got used to that.
Oh yeah.
But
So
one really funny story was that I was really sick for like a week straight, and I was dating Rob, your dad, and my husband, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I am so sick all the time. Like, I don't know what it's from. And he's like, can I just tell you, Simone, that you're kind of being a dumbass right now? And I was like, ooh, that was kind of aggressive. What do you mean? He goes, you've been eating prunes for dessert like every day of the week. He's like, do you not know what prunes do? And I didn't really think about it. I was like, oh my God, I'm not dying. Thank you.
my God.
I know.
That's
It's
actually
pretty,
really funny.
I know. I didn't like, I don't know. I just didn't think about it, you know? But I had like other instances where I had stuff happen, like when another time when and I were dating, we went out for this walk, and it was like, I could not make it back from the walk. I'm like, I have to turn around. And I was like, you keep going. You keep like, don't come back with me because this is going to be embarrassing. And I was like, maybe like 300 feet from the house, and I couldn't make it. And I literally shit my pants. I made it into the house, got into the shower. And Rob gets back and he's like, you okay? I was like, nah, I didn't quite make it. And yeah, I mean, at the time I was probably really embarrassed about it. Looking back now, I just think it's like, part of life happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wear diapers as a kid. You're gonna wear diapers when you're old. You're an adult. Like
Yeah.
it happens. I
Yeah.
remember when I first got diagnosed, I didn't want to tell anybody that I like, especially when I was like gluten free. I would tell everyone that gluten made me throw up instead of like having the shits because I thought it was so embarrassing. And then when I had my first colonoscopy, I lied and said it was an endoscopy instead of colonoscopy. Like that made so much of a difference.
Yeah. Well, I
Like
don't know.
even
There
when you're
is,
feeling stomach issues, like what?
well, there's this stigma around like, diarrhea versus vomiting. It's like, oh, vomiting, you just got something, diarrhea is like, ooh, that's disgusting. But, like,
Same
hello, we're all
thing.
human. People go to the bathroom most days of the week.
I hope so.
Well, I would say every day, but that doesn't always
No,
happen. But
we were talking about doing only shit stories for this episode, and I with my Crohn's, I use the bathroom quite frequently. But this week, so I started counting, but this week wasn't so good, so there's no really big number to share. But normally, it's like a lot.
like you said, it just happens.
No, it
Um,
does.
uh, but I've had like recent stories where like a year ago, I decided I was gonna like try to get healthier, and so I decided to use coconut sugar in my coffee. I don't even drink coffee anymore. Gotten rid of coffee. I don't have dairy. Gotten rid of a lot of stuff. But so I was like, oh, I'll use coconut sugar. That's healthier. Big mistake. I dropped the kids at school. I'm driving home, and I was supposed to meet um, this person at my mother-in-law's house, and uh, to settle up, he had done a yard sale for her, and so I was supposed to, sign the bill of sale and everything. Okay, so I'm like thinking all of a sudden I start feeling really sick and I was like I was getting the sweats and like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. Like I was like, okay, if I can just make it there, I can use the bathroom there. And same kind of thing. I was like half a mile from the house and I was like, I can't do it. I can't hold it in. And I literally shit my pants in the car. And I texted the guy and said, I'm so sorry I can't make it. I have a flat tire. That was my excuse. And your sister was home. So I called her and I said, can you meet me outside with a towel? And she was like, are you okay? I'm like, we'll see.
It's
And
funny that you lied to the guy because
well,
I have a friend, and when she wants to get out of dates, she says, "Oh, I have the shits." Like, quite, she will literally, "I have the shits. I can't go."
that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people do use that for an excuse, but when it really happens, you find another excuse,
Oh,
which is typically
100%.
right. And so your sister comes outside, she brings me a towel, and I'm like waiting for like when I stand up, I'm like, oh my God, what is going to happen? And the best news of the day was I was wearing leggings, and they were super lycra, and it all stayed in place, so I could get in the shower, and I didn't even need the towel. It was kind of a gross moment, but again, it
Uh,
happens. What are you going to do?
can't be
I had,
embarrassed about it. There's no
I
point.
know. I know. You have any good recent stories? You kind of been under control with your meds,
I know. I've
you
been
know?
pretty good, and I put myself in situations that I will always have a bathroom at.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, you don't have to drive. So, like living in a big
yeah.
city, I mean, for me, it's like, and now with traffic, because everybody has moved to Florida, what used to take me 15 minutes is taking me 45 minutes. So if I'm stuck, I'm in trouble. And, but there's been many times where I've had to pull over and use the restroom on the way to drop the kids somewhere, or, it's just part of life.
Hmm.
Um, One of my favorite stories is about um, a friend of ours who he went, he had to go to this corporate event and he was bringing a new employee with him that was, she was a woman, and his wife wasn't thrilled about the whole thing that they were driving up together. And okay, fine. They went to the event and he called his wife and said, okay, we're coming home. I'm going to drop her off and then I'll be home. And so he starts feeling really sick in the car, same kind of thing. He gets the sweats.
Oh, yeah.
And I think actually he might have dropped her off first and then just couldn't make it after that. So he literally pulled over and took a shit in someone's front yard. And his wife was like, where are you? She kept texting, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And, he was just super sick. And so he gets home and she's like, I don't believe you. And so he said, well, I can show you. So the next morning they literally drove to the yard and she believed him after that. So,
Yeah.
it's not, it happens. I don't necessarily trust people that tell me that they've never shit their pants before. I kind of feel like, it happens to everybody. I guess maybe if you don't shit your pants, you pee your pants. So you have like, there's something that's
You
going to
have
happen.
some funny stories. Like, my roommates and I were discussing this, and I won't, some of them have not necessarily shit their pants, but there are embarrassing stories. Like, one time, we were at a party, and my roommate clogged the toilet to the point that it started flooding. And it was like close friends of ours that we were at the party with. Like, these are people we know, we go to their apartment all the time. And somehow she managed to pin the clog in the flooding on the girls behind her, and like said to them, oh yeah, they did that, that was so gross, and then just left and never told them.
And so that's so funny. So she got away with it,
Oh yeah,
and
just pinned it
yeah,
on some other girls and then we left.
yeah,
It
sounds about right.
happens.
Um, I also had a really gross story from, and this one was really kind of embarrassing for me. We were, and again, I don't feel embarrassed by it anymore. That's why I can talk about it on a podcast. But I was in Ghana uh, when we were on a medical mission. It was Jacob, me, and Rob, and then a bunch of other people that we didn't know. And we're driving in this minivan or this van, and I was like, oh my God, here it goes again. I am so sick. What am I going to do? And I'm like telling the driver, I'm like, I really have to use the restroom. And like, it's not like you can go into the 7-Eleven. Like, it just doesn't work that way there.
Mhm.
And so they said, well, we'll pull over and you can just go in the the ditch. And I was like, I'm going to go in the ditch, like right next to the vehicle while everybody is sitting there. And he said, it's okay. We'll tell everybody to look the other way. Who knows if there's a video out there of it? And literally, it's not like it was a super rural area. There's like people walking down the street, but nobody looked at me like I was crazy because I think it just, that's what they did.
Yeah.
Like if they had to go to the bathroom, they went to the bathroom. But it was kind of mortifying at the time for me because I was like, what am I going to do? But you know what? Like I was sick. It wasn't like I like hadn't planned my day appropriately. There was nothing I could do about it. It's just, again, happens to us a lot.
Yeah, probably more than most people.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I don't think it happens as much to your siblings.
There's no way we're baseline. Like if we're baseline, who's the extreme?
Yeah, no, we're extreme, but yeah, I don't know who baseline is in our family, you know.
Point though is don't be embarrassed about anything. I feel like, and maybe I'm in my old age of 20, I feel like I don't get embarrassed anymore about, okay, I get embarrassed about things that you should be embarrassed about, which I can't think of any on the top of my head, but like things that are out of your control, you shouldn't be embarrassed about.
Yeah, I agree.
Like silly little mistakes you shouldn't be embarrassed about.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I think that we get embarrassed by things that if we can't control something, like why should we be embarrassed about it? Especially if there's like a medical diagnosis. I mean, you think of people who are embarrassed by things that they have, and it's kind of like, this is part of you. Like,
yeah. And if someone calls you out, you're like, you're really going to make fun of me. Like I have rosacea because of my Crohn's. I remember someone in high school, they were like, oh, your cheeks are so red. Like, what the heck is that? And I was like, you're making fun of my medical condition. Like, that is so not okay. Totally made them feel terrible. But I mean, I didn't care that much. It was just a learning lesson. Don't comment on people's things.
Yeah. I mean, it probably worked actually. Like,
yeah, I hope so.
I mean, again, I say this all the time. We have no idea what anybody else is going through. So we should not judge anybody. Like, it's just when something happens, instead of like laughing at somebody, offer to help. Like, is there something I can do for you? You know? Yeah. Now, there are moments though when it can be really ridiculous, like when drinking happens. And I have several good stories. Were you there when the yard story?
No, I was with my friends.
Okay, so you missed out on a gem. We were, Rob and I went to a friend's 60th birthday party, and I don't really know how I drank as much as I did, but I did. And they were serving really delicious wine. And when we went to leave, I think we ordered 3 Ubers. Like, we didn't even know how to use the app at that point. That was how bad it was.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but it was about right. So we get in the Uber. The Uber brings us, and actually before we got in the Uber, Rob said, do you want one more drink before you leave? And I was like, oh, sure. Why not? So he doesn't get me a drink. He gets me an entire bottle. It's sealed, but he gets me an entire bottle. And I'm like, okay, the next morning, I'm like, we stole a bottle of wine from someone's party. And so the Uber gets to our house and drops us off. And the place they dropped us, he didn't come into our driveway. He came like pulled in front of where we have palm trees, and it's like this berm. It's like this raised area. And I was wearing heels back when I used to wear heels. And I had to walk over the berm to get to the front door. Of course, by this point, I don't know why there was commotion, but Ari and Emma were standing by the front door watching the whole thing go down. Again, thankfully, there's no video of it. So I'm walking.
Pre-ring doorbell.
Yeah, pre-ring doorbell, because then that would have been disaster. So I'm walking, and then I'm no longer walking. I am falling, and I don't remember any of it, but I hit the ground, but I was holding the wine bottle up in the air, and I was like, it's okay. The wine's okay. I get into the house. I don't know. Did I go to sleep? I think at some point I fell asleep. I was so sick the next day. I look in the mirror. I have a black eye from falling in the yard, but I saved the wine. That was the most important thing. It was like, how ridiculous is that? And I suffered that next day. I don't think I've ever been that sick in my life. I was like, don't give me good wine at a party again. Give me the crap.
That bottle of wine is still sitting in the wine cellar untouched.
Yeah. It's still sitting at the top of the wine cellar. It happened, 5 years ago now? Maybe more.
maybe more.
Yeah, maybe because no, it's got to be 6 or 7 years ago now. And yeah, it's still sitting there. And Rob said just a couple days ago, he's like, "Do you want to pull it out?" I was like, "I don't think I can. I don't think I can ever drink that wine ever again." It was delicious at the time, a little too delicious, but
Hmm.
Um, do you know my story about the pool in Napa?
Oh
Do you know that
yes.
one? That's
Well,
another
every
good
time
one.
you go to Napa, you have good stories. Our house is filled with weird things that you buy.
That is true. We bought a bull statue, sitting bull. I have no idea why. You know,
So
I was
weird.
I was just there last weekend and I came home to a few Amazon purchases that I don't remember making. I was like, these are just Simone, stop making bad choices. Like really. But this was like one of my favorite stories because we stayed at this house. It was on a vineyard and the last night there were three of us still awake. So we were hanging out outside and we're like, oh, we should go swimming. And I'm like, where's the pool? Like, just assuming there was a pool. And so we go out there and I find the pool and I proceed to swim in the pool. And then the next morning we get up and I say to my other friends, it was like, oh, yeah. They're like, what'd you do last night? We're like, well, we went swimming. And they're like, where did you swim? I'm like, in the pool. They're like, we don't have a pool. So I swam in the neighbor's pool. And so, of course, we go check it out the next morning and it's all set up for like some bridal shower or something. So I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't ruin anything. And
Oh my God.
they might have me on camera from that
Yeah.
one. But that was a pretty bad one. It's like, you know, I don't know the stuff. It just happens to me. What can I say? Yeah.
It's-
And you're too young. You can't talk about any drunk stories because,
No, I'm still looking for my internship. So
yeah. That you don't get
11
drunk.
months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
You
get
don't.
drunk, but on
Yeah.
11 months from now, you guys, I'll tell you. Oh,
Some
actually, maybe 10 months. Oh, we're
10
closer to
months.
10 months.
Yeah, closer to 10 months now. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that makes me really feel old that this is like, getting old.
Where it makes me feel old too.
Oh, okay. You're 20. Feel young. Feel young with your, old lady stomach.
And my old lady like personality and my bones and joints. Like I'm made to be an old person.
Yeah, you do have kind of like, it's 9 o'clock. I think I should go to bed now.
Yeah, my friends were like, we're going okay. I feel like I should tell everyone this. I'm going to a monster truck jam tonight. And my friends were like, do you want to do anything after? It ends at 9. And I was like, no, why would we do two things in one day?
That's a lot to ask for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially from
Okay.
me. And
Yeah.
it's gonna be like 7 degrees out today. It's so cold today.
The fact that I'm flying up there in 2 days and not being able to understand what that really means because I'm a Florida girl. I mean, I know what it means, trust me, but I'm like, oh my gosh, that is
Terrible.
way too cold.
Terrible.
Um, I have one more story. Do you know the story about your dad, when he went to Vegas on a guy's trip and he was meeting us you were really little, but he was meeting us the next day. Well, he was there for 3 nights and then he was flying right from there to, we were going skiing. So he flew and met us at the airport. And the whole time you could tell like that man was just suffering, right? Like he definitely didn't sleep enough, definitely drank way too much. That's
Mm-hmm.
what you do and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And so he's trying to be so helpful at the airport. So he got there before us. And so he's pulling our bags off the thing and he's, just trying to be so helpful. And then we start talking about like the night before what he did. And he said to me, I'm so sorry that I didn't get to see your cousin. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, well, I said that I was going to call her, but I'm apologizing for never getting to see her. I said, you spent the entire afternoon and evening with her. So, and not just that, it was her husband, and at the time their baby. So, he had called me. She had called me. She's like, oh, he's a piece of work right now. So like, I knew that he had seen her, but it was hilarious that he was apologizing. I was like,
God.
God, I was like, there are photos. You were like
Oh my God.
you were holding their baby. Like this wasn't like but he No, he's not gonna he won't live that one down. So was that an embarrassing moment for him? Oh yeah. But we just think it's funny. It's not really embarrassing. It's just kind of
No,
like, you know, like anything else, it
that's
happens.
intense.
Well,
That's
it was
really
actually
intense.
really hilarious. I don't know you didn't know that story.
No, I didn't know that. I don't think I
Yeah.
was born.
Um,
If there was only one
oh,
baby, I wasn't
no, you
born.
were.
Okay.
You were because I have a picture. You were tiny. I have a
Oh,
picture of you
okay.
in this like little beret hat, leopard beret hat from that trip. So
Mm.
you were there.
The
Yeah.
only time I've ever been skiing. Let's leave it like that.
Well, no, you went to Switzerland too. Remember that thing in Switzerland that you were again, you were tiny. You were in a they would the way that you got pulled around there, it was a sled that had this whole like system to keep you warm. So like you put the baby in the sled and then you zip them up and so just their little head pokes out so they stay completely warm. You love that thing, let me tell you. And I would drag you around and you looked like you were like a mummy. You were just like time.
That's so funny.
Also really great pictures of that. So, but yes, so you never really went skiing, but you did, you did go to cold places. Yeah, we were never big. I mean, Rob loves to ski, Jacob's skiing, Emma's skiing some. With my knee injury, like I don't, that's not
My
my.
roommate really wants to teach me, but I once again don't put myself in accident prone situations.
I think if you're going to do it, you need to be wearing wrist guards, knee guard, every
I'm
kind of
like, I
guard.
like if I'm wearing everything, guys, I'm still gonna get injured. Like I
That's
get injured
true.
regardless. I show up with bruises from just like, sleeping.
Walking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. So you might want to consider it though, because I mean, it might be something you want to do in the future. It's just cold. I don't know. I mean,
I'm
I
here for
mean,
the beach.
well, you don't like the ocean, you
Yeah,
know,
but
you
I do
don't,
like the sun.
you don't like gorillas, and now you don't like skiing. How do you know?
Well, I'm difficult. What can I say?
You know what? What's nice about skiing, if you don't want to ski, you can just go and sit there and read a book. You can sit by the fire and read a book. You can just go relax. That's what a lot of people do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just giving
But
advice.
I can do that in my house, in my
Yeah,
bed.
that's true too. That's true too. Okay, any last thoughts? Any last words?
Um, I'll probably do something today that will embarrass me. But it's okay because no one really cares.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I
You
think we're
think
just,
more about yourself than people are thinking about you.
yeah. I've had many people say to me, like, I'm like, why didn't that person respond to my email? Or why didn't, like, what did I say to offend them? Blah, blah, blah. And, Rob will always say, they're not thinking about you, Simone. Like, you're hyper focused on this one thing, and they have 5 million things to do
Yeah.
during the day. Now, like, of course, going to the bathroom in a ditch in Ghana, like, they probably will remember that. But,
Yeah.
the little embarrassing things that you feel like you're mortified by, it's typically, you know, just your own concerns, and everybody else has already forgotten about it or didn't even pay attention that it happened. So,
Yeah.
and if they do, it makes for great stories for them as well.
That's true, honestly.
Yeah.
My one thing is, and I've noticed this for students out there, your teacher can see you in the classroom. They know, like, I feel like people live in this bubble when they're sitting at their desks. Yeah, you're staring at your computer. They know you're not paying attention, but more importantly, they can see you picking your nose. They can see you scratching all the weird little itches. Like, you are not in a bubble. I was giving a presentation last semester and I was like, wow, these people don't know that I can see them. But besides
Well,
that situation, no one's really paying attention to you.
yeah. Well, I think it's because, they're so used to being on Zoom and you
Yeah.
only see this little bit and, they can turn off the camera and then pick their nose. And so
Yeah.
now when they're in, a real environment, it's hard to to
It's just
adapt.
really funny
You
to
know?
me.
Yeah. But, hey, again, makes for good stories. And I do feel that the things that we do in life, we all make mistakes. We all make choices every day. And, if we're embarrassed by everything we do, how do we move forward? So, I could be embarrassed and never leave my house, but I'm not going to do that. I just, you
Yeah,
make it funny. You make it funny and you make it into
absolutely.
a good story to share later. So that's our advice for the day. Make it funny. Don't
Make
be
it funny.
embarrassed. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So we will see you. So we're going to do, I think, one more episode in February, maybe two in February. And then
Mhm.
we are in March, we're going to start doing a weekly episode. So we will come out with our topics for that and follow us on Instagram and Facebook.
And
And you can,
hopefully TikTok. I'm gonna try to do that.
yeah, she's going to try a
At the
TikTok.
Daughter Dearest Podcast.
Yeah.
And
And you can follow us individually too. Simone Canego or Olivia Canego on Instagram and also on LinkedIn or
yeah,
Facebook as well. Yeah, I know. Well, for me, just because I do
business
public
connections.
for the public speaking part and for the
Or,
book.
potential employers for me. I'm still looking for that summer internship. So hit me
There
up
you
if
go.
you think I'm interested.
After you heal about all her bowel issues,
Oh
hit
yeah,
her
now
up.
you're prepared.
Now yeah, exactly. Now you know that she has a good sense of humor and she can handle anything that's put in front of
Mhm.
her. There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
I'll see you in
hope-
person in a couple days.
I know. I'll see you on Sunday, and
Yeah.
then make sure to, I don't know, follow us, and you can listen to the podcast anywhere that podcasts are available: Apple Music, Spotify, a couple other ones, I believe.
Yeah. Find us, listen, share, tell your friends.
And let us know what you guys want to hear next. We have tons of stories and tons of advice.
Yeah, and we're probably going to bring on some guests as well. We're probably going to alternate how we do things, but for now, we really want you to get to know us, and so we're going to keep up with our ridiculousness so that you can be like, oh, I want to come back and hear about that story. So yeah,
Okay.
we got lots of stories.
Yeah, so many.
Okay, thanks
Okay,
for joining us on today's show.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.